Hey guys, welcome to another Man on Second podcast. And for the first time ever, we have all three of us on the show. So, joined as always with Joe Frisaro, Eric Wiedeke, our other co hosts. And guys, the stove is hot, or it's warming up at least. It's warming up. The stove is warming up. There's already actually been a signing. Andrew Heaney signed with the Dodgers. I don't know if any of you guys caught that. He signed an $8 million deal. And probably something that most of our fans are interested in. There was a report that came out that the Marlins are open to trading an arbitration starter, which would be Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, or Elijah Hernandez. And that caused a lot of buzz on Twitter because when you hear that the Marlins might be interested in trading Sandy Alcantara, a lot of fans are going to react either mostly very negatively, but also positively, because this is something that me and Joe have talked about on the show about the possibility of trading Sandy Alcantara. So Joe, I'll start with you. Where do you see this going, and do you think this has real movement, and do you see one of those big three starters getting dealt?
Uh, it's an interesting report from John Morosi, a friend of mine and former co-worker at the network and MLB.com. And, teams want your best players. and the Marlins have, they got three starting pitchers that are in arbitration now with Sandy, Pablo, and Eliezer. And who of those three are the teams going to want? And if you are going to get the highest return, which pitcher is going to get you that? And our fan base has noted the surplus of pitching, so you're going to seek these moves. If I'm the Marlins, I listen because you want to see what his market is. But if you're sincere about vast improvement in 2022, I look at Sandy two ways. You either extend him, or if you feel like those talks aren't going the way you like them to be going, you're open to moving him. So otherwise, that's just the nature of the beast. If you're being mentioned in trade talks, that means you're a good player. That doesn't mean the Marlins are going to move him. I'm not suggesting they do. But if you're a team, you got to look at your matchups are pretty much going to be contenders or those who feel they need a starter to make that leap. Pablo's innings just haven't been there. You're not going to get the return for him, and they may, if the Marlins want to look to aim high, Sandy's stock will never be higher than now. But that said, if the intention is to make a go at it, then I'm probably retaining him unless you're completely blown away. But then keep this in mind too, guys. You got to keep this in mind. If the Marlins do make some moves, kind of put themselves in position for a quick run at it, and they're not where they want to be in July, well, if you sign Sandy to an extension, if it's a club-friendly one, his trade value would be high in July, or you just ride it out if it's a good contract there. So it's a fascinating story, and obviously it's got everything up in arms in South Florida, but that's just the nature of the offseason.
And let me ask both of you guys this, Eric. Can the two things go hand in hand? Like we talked about, the Marlins say they want to go for it. They want to compete next season. But can that go hand to hand with trading Sandy Alcantara? Like, yes, you're going to get high value back for him because he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. But are you going to get talent that is going to replace Alcantara while also putting you in position to compete for the playoffs come next season?
That's hard to say because if you're dealing Alcantara, you're likely dealing him to somebody that thinks that they're an Alcantara away. He's arbitration eligible at this point. So you look at the teams that are really headed for a rebuild. The Pirates, the Orioles, they're way too far off to consider trading for a Sandy Alcantara. So you're not getting a Brian Reynolds or a Cedric Mullins or anyone like that. You'd be getting high-level prospects in return from a contender. So I'm not certain there's a future wherein the Marlins trade Sandy Alcantara and are trying to contend next year right away. I mean, if there's the right matchup of a contender that's got a guy that's super highly ranked and just about
blocked.
ready to be at the MLB and blocked, then maybe. But that's a really rare scenario. And 9 times out of 10, if the Marlins are trading a guy like Alcantara, it's because they're trying to extend their window out there. They don't see a way to contend right away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Eric nailed it. That his market isn't. You're completely right. It's not going to be. You're not going to have rebuild teams trading talent like that among rebuild teams. You're looking at the Yankees. You're looking at the Dodgers. You're looking at maybe the Astros. Although their system's not really good. You're going to be looking at teams that need that starting pitching and that ready to win now. I honestly think July would be a much more realistic time that Sandy would be dealt, um, more than now. And like I said to start, it's either extending. If you feel like you're not extending, then you may look to test the waters. But I have no problem testing the waters. And let's also be clear, that report didn't say they're looking to trade him first and foremost. The Marlins have decisions to make. They got guys in arbitration. They're planning on increasing salaries, and so they got a way. Someone may have to go to bring somebody in, but I don't think that someone's going to be Sandy on day one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot to think about, and moving towards free agency as hopefully the winter meetings are coming up. This is going to be a big year, a big offseason for the Marlins because, as we said before, they say they're going to be active. We've seen Rojas go on this little press run after his extension, saying, "Hey, I wasn't signed to be the starting shortstop. I was signed to be part of the team. The front office promised me they're going to be active." So, what should be the expectations, Joe, for the Marlins going into free agency? Because I know the fans, you'll have both sides of the fan base who thinks they should go out and get the top guys, or they'll be in competition to get the top guys, which probably is not going to be the case. They're probably not going to go out and get Correa. But what should the expectations for Marlins fans be this winter?
It should be just moving this franchise closer to winning without mortgaging the future. That should be the reality. And I think they're still, I don't know if they completely set where their payroll is going to be. I do know this from talking to people. They feel they have resources and to make additions, whether it's via free agency trades and not mortgage the future. They're very confident. I did hear some things I liked internally and I think their kind of eyes are open to this, that they have a lot of really good supporting pieces, which I think we've said, Mike and I all year long. They don't have that high end impact. So if you're targeting, let's say, 2 to 3 impactful guys, then you without getting rid of a ton of people to get there, you got to hold on to as much of your pitching as you can. Obviously, you may have to move a piece or two to get one of those, but I think that they should be looking. And we've made no bones about it, and you guys know my top target would be Nick Castellanos, and I believe there will be conversations there. And if they got Castellanos, complemented him with an Eduardo Escobar signing at the 8, maybe 2 or 3 years at $24 million, AAV of 8, and Castellanos in that 20 range for 5 years or so, get him. He'll probably be a $100 million player north of that. You do that, and you make a trade for a catcher, then I think you're on your way to being much significantly better in 22, and without rolling the dice and throwing a Hail Mary pass, which I've said you don't want to make 2022 a Hail Mary season where you're back to 2012-13 with the Marlins, where they got all those players and jettisoned them all off at the trade deadline and just completely demoralized the morale of the market. I think they have to be really careful and be really realistic with where they are, because they lost 95 games. We can't sugarcoat that. You don't just go from 95 losses to 95 wins. If they do, they catch lightning in a bottle, so be it. But they're many players away, but I think a blueprint like that would get them to a very fine off season while keeping a course of letting young players develop. Let Sixto come back from his injury, see if he's healthy. Let Edward Cabrera not feel like he has to be not only Rookie of the Year, but a Cy Young Award winner in his first year, full year, and just overtax a young pitching staff Trevor Rogers going to have a lot higher expectations. A lot's on the line for these guys as they try to establish themselves to give this organization a foundation to be confident that from 22 beyond will be good years.
Yeah, I think that there's the optimistic view of we're going to go out and get Correa and Castellanos and it's going to be great. And then there's the pessimistic view of, well, they're going to give somebody 2 years, $8 million, and that'll be about it. I think the answer is a lot more measured, and it's definitely more so somewhere in the middle. The Marlins are pretty fortunate this offseason in that I think it's going to be more of a buyer's market in free agency because it is a pretty deep class overall. So you're going to have maybe some guys left over where maybe their market isn't as robust as they thought it was going to be because of the top end talent that's on the market this year, and that's kind of where the Marlins can really, if they play their cards right, like Joe said, go and get that maybe one impact player and then surround him with 2 or 3 really quality complementary pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, but I think the most important thing is what Joe was saying of you can't just go for the Hail Mary this year, because we look back at what year was it, 2016, where they went for it and they ended up having no depth in their minor league system, no depth in their rotation, and it was everybody's got to stay healthy and we'll have a chance to make it to the wild card, and that is just not sustained for success, especially in this time of baseball. So I mean, I do think they're going to be in the conversation for Castellanos. I think that would be the no-brainer. We've talked about this plenty of times, Joe. I think that would be the best step to show for the ownership to show that they're going to be competing. And I think that would be the guy that fans will love to come to the stadium and see their hometown guy who's exciting, who's good. And I think that's just a perfect scenario for the Marlins this offseason.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back. Listen, Mike knows when I talked to Nick when he was down here when the Reds played, and I did my story on him, and then spoke to him a little bit in kind of one-on-one. And this guy grew up a Marlins fan, yet knows the history and the frustrations of the market. So to win him over, he also was a teammate of Miguel Cabrera in Detroit, so he knows a lot about what went on down here. He has a real, he's from here. He wants to win, and he doesn't want to be, kind of told, given a bag of goods. He's going to want to hear not just money, but a commitment. And he's Scott Boras rep, so he's going to make no mistake. He's going to have a big market, so that would be a real good get for the Marlins if they could swing that. But I think that if he signed here, would also tell me it's not just money. He's heard something he likes to hear about a plan in place and a commitment to winning, not just, I'm going to get mine and cash out. Jock
Right.
Peterson's now won, 2 World Series in 2 different years, with 2 different teams. And he's got 2 rings now. He may just go for the money. And
Yeah.
that's not to say Jock wouldn't be a good addition here in Miami, but, it's you want the guys that want to play for something other than know they got theirs. In terms of the success on the field, then now if they win, lose, it doesn't matter, get their payday. And if it doesn't work out here, they could get traded, that type of scenario. So I think that would be really good. And just kind of your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think if the Marlins, it's like you said, if the Marlins are able to go out and get a big name player like the Castellanos, it tells you 2 things. Number one, that they're willing to spend money, and number 2, that this organization, at least around the league, because there's a reputation there, and obviously Boras has a huge influence. He's got, a lot of players in his agency. If the Marlins are able to snag one of those guys, then maybe it kind of signals that this regime is taken a little bit more seriously. The front office is taken a little bit more seriously league-wide in terms of players wanting to play in Miami. And that's kind of this has always been my idea of this offseason, is it's kind of a flashpoint for this front office of, this is going to tell me how this ownership is going to go this offseason.
Yeah, and like we said, it's just going to be interesting to follow it. But transitioning over to other off-season talks, Rookie of the Year candidates have been announced, and the Marlins. This is actually a big one for Man on Second because we're big fans of Jonathan India, and obviously we love following Trevor Rogers and his impact, and Carlson from the Dylan Carlson from the Cardinals. What do you guys think? Who do you think deserves that? We know Trevor had a great, masterful season, but unfortunately faced some injury, had to miss some time with also that personal issue. So that might stack it against him. But in terms of NL Rookie of the Year, Joe, who do you think deserves that, and who do you think gets it?
Yeah, let's first note that I'm still an active BBWA member. I did not vote in these. Each market gets 2 votes for the awards: the MVP, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, and this one, Cy Young. And in years past, I had. This year, I did not have a vote. If I did, I couldn't say who I voted for until after the results are done. But as you noted, we got Trevor, we got India, and those are finalists, and you can't really go wrong. I think those are 1, 2. I think Dylan Carlson will finish third, and for baseball fans down here, Carlson in spring training, we see him up in St. Louis, and he's a really good switch hitting player. We've got a lot of upside. I think what can hurt Trevor is the second half. The second half numbers. I mean, he 133 innings are good enough. I mean, he led all rookies in innings pitched, but post All-Star break, 31 2/3 innings after 101 in the first. In 20, I think it was seven starts, and a 3.69 ERA, and Jonathan India was, you can make the case he was just as strong in the second half. He played 150 games. Second half, he had an OPS of 804. Of 863. In the first half, he was 804, and just a really solid player with 20 homers. I think he hit 21 homers, and I'm a guy who, if I had a vote, I really value, how you perform post All-Star break. I do put a lot of weight in that. It's not a given. It doesn't automatically. Each case is different. But I like to see guys that are on the field the entire year, and if they're producing. Hanley Ramirez back in 06 when he was Rookie of the Year, if you go look at his numbers, he hit something like 360 or so in September, and just iced the Rookie of the Year that year by just a ridiculous. Chris Coughlin in 09 when he was Rookie of the Year. In August and September, I think the only guy that had more hits in baseball than him was Derek Jeter, and he hit at a really high rate, and that got him the Rookie of the Year. I think the fact that India was more consistent over 162 will probably get him the award. And as you note, I'd be very happy for Jonathan. And we are torn because Trevor, if India didn't do that, if his year is a little less, even with slightly less numbers, I still could see him being a very viable. But if Trevor wins it, I'm certainly going to be very happy for him, and great, feather in the cap for the Marlins organization.
Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's close enough, I guess, to where I'm not gonna have a real complaint or objection otherwise between Trevor and India. I agree with Joe. I think Carlson's third. But as far as it goes, I mean, Joe just really hit it. It's not because Rogers in that first half, it looked like he was just going to run away with the award. Headed to the All-Star break, we were okay. If he even gives you 80% of what he did in the first half, this isn't a conversation. But he had that personal issue, and then over the course of the second half, it was very clear that he wasn't the same guy. He kind of hit that wall. His velocity was down. Just things like that happen to pitchers, especially guys that don't pitch a lot in the minors. And Jonathan India, it's it's really what have you done for me lately, and so what happens in August and September really does get weighted in pretty highly in these kinds of awards because that's what people remember the most. That's the most lasting impact from the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think India gets it too, and it would be great for him, a Gator, South fan. We're fans of him on the show.
Yeah.
So it would be great for him to get the award. And over in the AL, we have two Rays guys that are nominated for Rookie of the Year: Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena, and then we have Luis Garcia for the Astros. This is gonna be an interesting one too. I like Wander here. I mean, I think though he wasn't there full season, he came up a little bit late. His impact on the Rays after that little bit slow start was just insane. From a rookie, it was like he was like been in the league for like 5 years.
Yeah, he's. If you were going to ask who's the best rookie of them, Wander Franco is probably it. But I think Randy Arozarena is going to win it. I think 141 games, same thing compared to 70. Luis Garcia, great season, 11-8 record, 3.48 ERA, 30 games started. 30 games, 28 starts, 155 in the third inning. See, he had 20 something more innings pitched than Trevor. And Tina went to the World Series or won the division. They don't count these awards postseason, doesn't factor in. Arozarena is exciting. People like him. 20 homers, 69 RBIs, 20 bags stolen. But Wander Franco is that's like to me back in 03 when Dontrelle Willis was Rookie of the Year and he got it over Brandon Webb, who had a great year for Arizona. And I remember the Arizona people yelling at me because they thought that he should have won it over Dontrelle. And I'm like, you're getting all up in arms, but the best rookie in the class is Miguel Cabrera. But he just didn't play enough to win Rookie of the Year. So I think Dontrelle would even agree with that, even though Dontrelle was the deserving Rookie of the Year back in 03. And I think Wander Franco may go that route where he's winning MVPs in a couple of years while these guys, one of these two other guys will say they got the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, 70 games, I just can't justify it. I can't. The on base streak was phenomenal, and his impact down the stretch, especially on a postseason team, is definitely, like Joe said, he's the best rookie in the class. He's already, an all-star level player. But I gotta say I do think Arozarena probably wins it. He gives you a 2020 season. He's no slouch either. Luis Garcia, all respect to him, 3.48 ERA. But he's probably my third. I think it would go Arozarena, then Franco, then Garcia. If I had to guess how the voting would pan out.
It shows the incredibleness of the Rays that the regular season that they had, and they have two Rookie of the Year candidates, which that probably doesn't happen a lot on a team that's won 100+ games.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. One last thing I want to note: there are two rookies I feel that could have been a finalist, and we'll throw them out. I'm going to throw them out there right now. Ryan Mountcastle, who is a Florida kid from Haggerty and Oviedo with the Orioles. Great year, 33 homers, 89 RBIs, 796 OPS, 255 BA, a little low, but really solid player on a bad Orioles team. I thought, and we'll give a little man on second love to the South Florida or to the state of Florida guy. And then the Miami Marlins own Anthony Bender. Bender had a really, really strong rookie year. 60 games, 61 to third innings pitched, 71 Ks, 2.79 ERA. He started that with that amazing, not scored upon streak of whatever that was, 20 or so games or innings, whatever that was. It was this great start for him, and just give a little recognition to a couple of other guys who did not make those final three. I guess the awards are what's today, the 10th. I think in 5 days, the 15th. I think is the announcement. So we'll know who's going to be Rookie of the Year in both leagues, but. As we see, our Rays and our Marlins are well represented, as well as India, and a lot of man on second connections in this one.
I I saw this. I thought it was interesting with the MVP awards that it was I believe the first time where every candidate was on a non-playoff team.
Oh, wow. And that's a trivial thing, but yeah, when you think about it, like the National League to me is like, I guess it's gonna be Harper, but it could be Soto. It's like
Yeah.
it's weird. You're right, and it's strictly that's going to be looking at WAR, and I think a lot of the BBWA just kind of, and I got that caught up in that too, and I just don't want the awards to be 100%. Just look at Fangraphs and see who the WAR leaders are, and there's all your, there are other factors, but it does weigh very heavily, and I think that speaks to why, you're seeing a lot of the voters, especially the younger ones, who are more analytically inclined than looking at some other factors. But a good number of them do really do a great job with their homework in terms of talking to industry people, looking at the numbers, but it is a fascinating race. But I would have to guess Harper if I had a vote.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Wow.
Yeah, it was just an interesting tidbit that I had saw on Twitter.
It's an interesting contrast in what you see between baseball and other sports, because that's something that you would never see in any other sport.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
But that's basically what I was going to bring up. It's like, does baseball vote on the MVP the right way? Which I guess Joe was kind of entailing to there about. It doesn't seem like there's a balance, because I feel like in other sports they do just give it to the best player on the best team, which is not fair a lot of the times. And then it's now an example where it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, where it's just a great player on a bad team. So I don't know, like, is there like a balance, or it's just an outlier this year?
Yeah, I think like if you look at NFL, how many MVP awards did Peyton Manning win? Like, he won a bunch, and you looked at. And I used to cover the NFL and have votes in that, or I can't remember their voting system, but they would have like their system, but it rewarded success, obviously. And if you were, I'm sure Tom Brady has a boatload too. In baseball, you don't just, it's not just, this is the outlier year. Well, let's say it was last year. Oh, Freddie Freeman had the MVP last year, and the Braves, came up short in the playoffs, but they still got to the championship. It would be like the no-brainer this year. Oh, Freddie Freeman. MVP, and they won the World Series. It's neatly packaged for them. You're never really going to have a left tackle winning the MVP in the National Football League, and in the NBA, you're not really going to get the grinder. You either get the leading scorer or the best player in the game type of thing. MVP in baseball, when Trout was healthy,
exactly.
Trout does it all. So. We see numbers. He's got 40 homers and 40 steals, and he plays Gold Glove, and it just adds up that he's on everyone's top 3 ballot, wins it every other year. I find the American League MVP this year different, because I probably would give it to Guerrero and then get shot, because how could you not give it to Ohtani, because he was a great pitcher and a great hitter. It's like, even though his second half, his numbers, which not surprisingly failed, while the other guy went to the playoffs. In Toronto, or no, they just met Toronto.
Yeah.
But he got him there. The Blue Jays were right there. It's good conversations. There's no real. I kind of like that. There's no complete set way. But I just kind of hope baseball writers don't just become 100%. Lean on the analytics and Fangraphs, because it just makes for lazy voting. It's just. I could just go and look and say, oh, by the way, hey, so-and-so he's top 10, so he's on my ballot. And because the WAR was right there.
Yeah, I agree. But, Joe, before we close out this show, we haven't got a chance to talk about your Arizona Fall League trip. That was a couple weeks ago now at this point. You went there, you saw a lot of the prospects, some interesting names. Marlins fans were happy with the performance of J.J. Bleday over there. What was your thoughts, and what did you take away from the Arizona Fall League?
Oh, it's a great experience just to go, and if for any fans that are out there, they know it's like spring training all over again. You got a lot of really good, it's fun to be in the ballpark and be able to walk around and see players on the field and talk, and just kind of felt like covering baseball again. So that was fun for me, and just covering it's a real good experience. And it's funny, the first day I went there, I knew I was Mesa is the team the Marlins players are on, the Mesa Soul Sox, and I got to talk to Blade that day, and he goes out and gets 3 hits with a bomb. And so the next day I was down there looking to get Meisner, and I see Blade, and I said, "You got any more hits in that bat for me, JJ?" He kind of laughed, and I think he had 3 more hits that day with another bomb, and I got Meisner. And the guy I didn't talk to, which I would have loved to, was Will Banfield, but he was catching the days I was out there, and a lot of times his work, involved warming up pitchers. He wasn't really around in batting practice, but I'll get to those guys in a second. Scottsdale, I got to see Tristan Casas, one of my favorite prospects in baseball. He was right here, Broward County with the American Heritage. Had a good conversation on the field with him. Red Sox guy, kid's going to be an absolute monster. We have video interviews of these three, and we're going to have one coming up in the next day or two of Slade Tony, former University of Miami pitcher with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He plays for Salt River. So those were interviews. I encourage everyone to go to the 5 Reasons YouTube page and look at these videos. We did the video interviews. But Blade, obviously, he's really, he corrected a lot of what he was struggling with at AA this year. He's hitting 333. There's still, we all love numbers. Some of these numbers don't get so carried away with. Everyone's hitting 330 in that league right now. But good signs for JJ. There's still some things he has to, and he discussed this in our interview, with his swing path. He's got to work out some things, but he's on his way doing that. Cameron Meisner, guys, is the guy. The batting average is low, but he has now 7 homers. And we want to talk about guys get traded, after these fall leagues. There are a lot of these guys are, and don't be surprised if teams are calling on Cameron Meisner. He's a potential. I think teams that may call on Blade as well, but I think the Marlins, being the fact that Blade is first rounder and the money investment in him, I think that they probably will want to see JJ to see if he, how he pans out long term. But if I wouldn't be shocked if Cameron Meisner is a trade, mentioned in trade talks whenever the Marlins get towards making some moves. Banfield, the defense is outstanding. The hitting is still a thing. Troy Johnston, left-handed hitting first baseman in the Marlins system, he was also there. I also want to give a quick shout out to Phil Plantier, the hitting coach. He's the hitting coach at AAA. He's with the Marlins, and he was part of, they call him like an extra coach on that Mesa club. So I thought that was key that the Marlins were able to get one of their internal hitting coaches to work with Blade, which would establish continuity for when spring training goes. But that's kind of some of the takeaways. A couple of other names to keep an eye on that caught my eye. Curtis Mead, playing third base for Scottsdale team. He's a teammate of Compass out there. He's with our beloved Tampa Bay Rays. Mead's right-handed hitter with a boatload of talent. He's played third there. Don't be shocked if he moves across to first base. And to be honest, if the Marlins do business with the Rays, I'm asking for Curtis Mead in the trade. He's going to be AA, and this guy is very close to big league ready. When we had Nick Green on our recent podcast, Nick talked about right-handed power with pull on the pull side, and Mead's got a boatload of it. And at Lone Depot Park, you want that right-handed hitter to clear, put the ball into the bullpen, and Mead could fit that mold. So he's the guy I circled as on the Marlins. I'm asking about him. A guy that, on the surprise team, 2 guys, Ezekiel Duran with the Ranger system. Everything that guy hits is super hard. That guy's a shortstop. I don't think the Marlins are in business with the Rangers. He was part of he was part of a big trade. Can you quickly look it up? I meant to do that, Eric or Mike. Ezekiel Duran, he was with the Rain. He got one of the big trades at the Rain. Oh no, with the I think he was in the left-handed guy, home run guy who went to the Yankees. Eric, help me out.
Good Gallo.
Gallo, yeah, isn't it Joey Gallo?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. So that there. Austin Wells, former first-round pick, I believe, with the Yankees. He was on that surprise team. He's a catcher. And, the Marlins tend to do business with the Yankees, so just keep an eye on that guy. Austin Wells, catcher, although defensively I'm not hearing the greatest things in the world about his receiving. But, we've been down that road with the Alfaros. But those are a few guys that caught my attention. And Duran would be a great get, but I don't see the Marlins doing business with Texas. But that guy would be a guy I would be circling. Ezekiel Durant is another guy I was really impressed with. But again, I spent 5 days or 4 days of coverage, and I saw 5 games. One was an afternoon and evening, so that was great experience, and it was great to catch up with a lot of players and talk to a lot of contacts that will help us out. And we'll get a few people on as guests as we advance the second podcast, and we get some more guests on here as well.
Yeah, you can check out those interviews that we had with a certain few prospects on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube page, and also on Twitter. We've posted those links there too. Appreciate Eric for chopping those up for us. But that's it for you guys today. We appreciate you guys tuning in as always. You can find us on the 5 Reasons Sports. We'll be streaming live there. We'll be streaming live on Twitter at the Man on Second podcast, or Man on Second Twitter page. Our podcast streams there. We appreciate you guys for tuning in.